The army thought the experiment was a failure, that their drug didn't work. But it just took a little time to turn you into Deathstroke.
Where's my boy? Where's Joseph?
Will you join Hive? Or will my men slit little Joseph's throat here and now?
The answer is no.
You're a mercenary. And the people that you love have paid a terrible price.
You see, I have a secret. I'm a knight, like the ones in our favorite book. Roaming a dangerous world. And I don't want those dragons to hurt you, ever again.
So what are we going to do about it?
We?
You're not going after him alone this time.
Welcome to DC Daily. I am Whitney Moore, and it is Father's Day this weekend. So joining me today are two DC comic book artists and writers whose dads also share their craft. John Romita Jr. and Andy Kubert. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
What have you guys been up to? What are you working on? Have you picked up any hobbies?
No hobbies. Actually working out a little more, doing a lot of drawing, and being at home playing with the dog a lot too. So actually during lockdown, there's not too much to do. But it's been great catching up with family and all that kind of stuff.
It is, and that's a good answer because we're catching up on deadlines because there's not much else to do.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is a blessing in disguise. I love it.
And John, how about you? What have you been up to?
Actually getting a lot of work done and spending a lot of time with my son and his girlfriend, who are wonderful people. So that's a blessing. And they were living in Manhattan and working in Manhattan, and that's changed everything. So now they're here with us. And as long as I stay out of their way, they don't throw anything at me. It's great.
Well, I am impressed by both of you guys for staying productive and exercising. I forgot what that word meant. But I think I heard that you guys are both working on some comic book projects. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the one that it's a DC project, but I'm going to let DC announce the major one that I'm doing. But the other one I'm doing, I just got done, was a wraparound cover for Detective 1027. It's an anniversary issue for, I guess, Detective 27. And this was it.
Nice.
You guys can see it there, Yeah.
It's like you know what you're doing. It's fantastic.
Well, I try. I don't know, but...
Hey, let me tell you something. Growing in this industry with you two gavones, you and your brother, it's great competition and allows me to advance, but you two are outstanding effing artists. I love it. I'm very proud of you guys. I'm very happy to be friends with you.
Thank you very much, and right back at you too. And I think competition gets us all better. It really does.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
And I have my pencil doodles, and will be sneaking up on you guys at any time. No, I won't be. John, what do you have to show me?
The great thing we're working on Brian Bendis. Bendis loves double spreads, and here's a shot with all the characters, and we get to create new characters, and Brian is known for his vistas and his double spreads. Sometimes he puts too much in. Brian, you put too much in the double spread sometimes, but not.
That looks awesome. That looks great.
Yeah, it's fun because he challenges, and that's the other good thing. And Andy will agree to this, attest to it. You don't want to be lulled into a false sense of security. When you have a writer that challenges you, it really raises your level of talent. And then I get a guy like Klaus Janson, the other artist that just fixes every F up I have.
Klaus saved my ass on Dark Knight 3, so I was good with that.
He's an artist in and of himself, and he just doubles up what we do.
Yeah.
So have you guys been going back into the DC archives and reading any old comics that you love?
All right. Well, usually when my monthly books come out, I look at them, but I don't read them. until they come out into the hardcover of the trade. So this one, Superman Up in the Sky, this one I have been reading. The writing that Tom King did on this was phenomenal. I thought that it was a great Superman story. I'd love to see them make a movie out of that. It was really fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Before you go, this one I want to read. I never got a chance to read this one. Batman Creature of the Night that Kirk Busiek wrote and John Paul Leon drew. I want to read this one. So I had to sit next to my table right over here.
I am a fan of the Kubert boys, and I always have been. I actually don't have anything I read per se. I'm going to be brutally honest. I look at pictures. I look at the competing artists, and I know the writers that I've worked with, I've had great luck with. But I don't have a lot of time, honestly, to read. I read a couple of newspaper articles in the morning, and I sit right down and put in the 12, 18 hours. I don't even read my own book when it comes out. I just look to make sure that I haven't embarrassed myself.
That's awesome. So it is Father's Day weekend, yay! And both of your dads, John Romita Sr. and Joe Kubert, created such a legacy. I want to know what it was like following in that path.
When you have an artist like my father, who is a brilliant artist before he was a cartoonist, it does two things. Either it terrifies you or it raises the level. When he was younger, he was doing things at 18 and 19 I can't do now. His paintings, his illustrations when he was working for the army during the Korean War, it inspires me. And he's always been brutally honest with me, telling me exactly what was right, what was wrong. The things that I owe to him are storytelling in particular. But the other thing is inspiration. When you see somebody that good, you cannot help but be inspired.
Well, it helped me considerably. My father, he was really good, and he was just a pleasure to watch. And there's a YouTube video of John's dad and my dad doing a drawing on the same piece of paper and stuff. But it was like watching a computer download when you watch my dad draw. It was amazing to watch him do it. And I could never even compare myself to him because there's no comparison. It would have drove me nuts. And actually, if I did do that, I probably would have froze up and I'd probably be doing something else other than drawing comics, So I had to get that out of my head.
Listen, I know exactly what he means. When I was going through college, I would bring things home and didn't want to show anybody. I was ashamed because I would see daily what my father did. It is intimidating and inspiring at the same time.
I love that. Andy, did you get any great advice from your dad?
I would talk to my dad about everything from art to life to, we were actually, besides him being my dad, we were best friends and stuff. So my dad taught me how to draw. I went through his art school, the Kubert School, which is still going on today. But I made it a point to go down and see my father every day, just to talk about work, to talk about the business. He would tell me stories. He told me of when he was in the business. Because my dad started out working when he was like 12, 14 years old. He started out drawing comics back then. My dad gave me advice up till really the day he passed away. It was just, I would always bring my pages down and show him and get critique for nothing other than just to go see him and just to go talk to him.
After I got past my embarrassment of what I was doing compared to him, when I started working up in Marvel as a window washer, I had to show him some stuff. He would see it himself, and he would not make a comment. He said, "You're going to hear from your superiors," and that was the way he wanted it. But if I walked up to him and said, "Dad, tell me what do you think of this?" on the side or at home, then he would say, "This is wrong, this is wrong, this is right." He was the inspiration by example, but he would answer questions if I had them.
Absolutely. And both of you guys actually collaborated with your dads on comic books. What was that process like?
No, he fixed everything.
The projects that I worked on with my dad at DC were DC Legacies before Watchmen, the Night Owl series. And I remember bringing the pages down to my dad. I would do them really tight, dry the best I could on them, hand them to my father, and he would look at them and he'd say, "They are no longer yours, they are now mine." And that meant he could do whatever he wanted with them. I was gone. I mean, my work was totally gone. He made it look like his, and they look beautiful. Every time he showed me the pages, I was like, these things are phenomenal, So it was great.
Same result with me, but he wouldn't say anything like that. He just took it. He was an overpowering inker. Aside from being a brilliant artist, and you knew he was going to repair anything, especially the women. I was a young guy when I was working with him, and my women did not look as good as they do now. So, and he would fix it. What the hell? That's what his job was.
That is great because dads are fixers. And so that's very, very on theme with Father's Day weekend. I know I've got a very hard question to ask probably, but John, we'll start with you. Of your dad's work, do you have a favorite?
My father's run on Spider-Man was so inspiring to me. His run on Spider-Man with Stan, that was basically a template for me. Brilliant stuff.
Favorite thing he did was Tarzan. I loved what he did with Tarzan. And you could tell when my father drew that, my father got him into comics and into wanting to do this was Hal Foster's Tarzan from way back when, and I think it was the 20s when it started out. And he used to read it as a kid. So that got him into doing comics. And when it was his turn, when he was able to do the Tarzan strip for DC, you could tell all that love came through in the work. And when I read this stuff as a kid, I adored it. I just love it. And I still have it sitting down there by me.
To that end, my father's inspiration was Milton Caniff. And I got a chance to see those dailies that inspired my father. But Sergeant Rock and Tarzan, that work is inspiring to say the least for anybody. And my father, being a fan of Joe's, was equally helpful because he would have it around the house.
And speaking of role models, both of you have been working on Superman comics recently. I would love to hear both of yours approach to drawing Superman.
Drawing Superman is hard. He's one of the toughest characters I've ever drawn. I just try to, whenever I approach him, I just try to not make him look bad. I hope I came through on that, but I just try my best to make him look iconic, all-American, all that kind of stuff. He's a difficult character to draw.
I agree. And the only thing I can think of is with the history of the character, it is so intimidating knowing how many great artists were on before. To me, that is two things, intimidating, but it's also inspiring. I honestly do my best to not screw up. I can't put it any other way. I think as I'm working on the character, I add things of my own life into backgrounds and so on, but this is an iconic, if not the most iconic character in the history of this business. I'm just trying to do my best not to mess the character up because there's a certain look that has to be. I got to do my best. I call it deadline style. If it comes out on time, I'm happy.
That's so interesting. I've never considered that from an artist perspective about how a character that iconic would probably have the most pressure to draw on. But you guys also have both done plenty of work on Batman, and I'd like to pose the same question. What is your approach to drawing Batman? Do you guys have any special touches that you like to use?
Similar things with the intimidation factor because of the history behind it. But it's such a moodier, darker character. And the costume, to me, is so much fun to play with because you can get moody and dark. The most fun is playing with that cape and the silhouette of the character. The character is iconic. You cannot compete with the history of the character. So you do your best, and then you writer, they'll throw the house at you. And if you are weak, you will fall.
With Batman, for me, he's the type of character. He's a lot different than drawing Superman. Yes, he's very iconic, and so many great artists have done so many great things with him. But I approach him like you can't screw him up. You can take that character, you could stretch him, you can take his ears and make them big, you can take that cape and make it 3 miles long if you wanted to. There's so many different things you could do with him, and it's really difficult to screw him up, man. You do cool stuff with the cape and the shadows and the silhouettes and doing a lot of contrasting with the blacks and back of Batman and to pop him out. So many neat things. And what I usually do is I just break out Dark Knight Returns Frank stuff and so look at what he does, and that gives me my inspiration, man.
The interesting difference between Superman and Batman is you can't hide with Superman.
Yes.
With Batman, you can hide occasionally. You have a bad day, you just throw a lot of blacks in. Superman has no hiding. It's right there in front of you.
That's so interesting. And on that note, you guys have both worked with Frank Miller on some pretty high-profile series. Have you guys ever compared notes on that process?
I don't think he and I have ever spoken about it, other than the fact that Frank allows me to be me by giving me a plot. I've never discussed it with Andy, but Andy's stuff with Frank is stunning, as per normal.
when I worked on Dark Knight 3 with Frank and Brian Azzarello, it was intimidating to say the least. It was really intimidating. But Frank was very encouraging. He gave me a lot of great pointers and a lot of good feedback. And actually, it just made me, I think, a better artist. And it made the series. Besides drawing the book, I've gotten to be really good friends with Frank. You know, we got along so well. If you told me that, you know, when I was making this business that I'd be friends with Frank Miller, you know, I'd be like, ah, get out of here. There's no way. It's a real honor to have done that.
Agreed. I agree with the second half of that. Frank's a great guy and a pleasure to work with.
I gotta say, it's so wonderful hearing you guys speak with such reverence towards each other, your fellow artists, and each other's fathers. It's so clear that you guys really harness this mutual respect, and so it's such a joy to speak with you guys together. Last but not least, you guys are both fathers, so I would love to know, do you have any messages for all of the dads out there this Father's Day weekend?
Yeah, have my son and my stepsons as children. That's my advice. They're the most wonderful young men that there is, and I'm proud of them. And it's all due to my beautiful wife, Kathy, and I am the luckiest man, at least in this house.
Again, he says this stuff so eloquently. But, oh gosh, my son, who just got married, well, he got married 2 years ago. One reason why we moved out to Los Angeles was because he was out here, and we were in New Jersey, so we moved out here. We've been out here for 2 years, and we all get together. We all have a great time. So proud of my kids. My son Sam doing phenomenally well. Right now he's going for his master's in marketing, and my daughter Emma is she went through our art school, the Kubert School. And she's just breaking into the business now. She's getting her feet wet, and she's taking her licks, you know, as everybody does. It's very, very tough business to get into, but she's doing phenomenally well. She's doing great. So she's out here with us too, and I'm so proud of both of them. You know, it really couldn't be better.
Oh, great! Now I have three Kuberts to compete with. That's just great.
You know, and being quarantined with everybody. You know, you hear about, you know, people not getting along and all that kind of stuff. I kind of think it's the opposite here. We all have our separate studios. My wife is a watercolorist also. So, John, that's 4. But we all have our separate studios in the house, and we get together for dinner and things like that. Take the dog out for walks. But I couldn't be happier or more proud of my family here.
Well said.
Oh, I love that. John and Andy, thank you so much for joining me. It has been so wonderful hearing your stories and your inspiration, and I can't wait to see so much more from you. And happy Father's Day to you both.
Thanks very much.
John, happy Father's Day to you, bud.
Thanks, and same to you.
Well, the rest of you out there, if you haven't read anything by John or Andy, do yourself a favor. We have got plenty of their books right here on DC Universe, and I think you've got the time, so go read them. As for me, I'll see you next time. Happy Father's Day. Bye-bye.